Hello guys, welcome back to the channel where it is, as you can tell, a Pittsburgh Steelers Friday, and as usual on these Steelers Fridays I will be previewing our upcoming game, which this week takes us to Houston to tackle the 1 and 2 Houston Texans, although the Texans did come against a very good Jacksonville Jaguars side who, at least on paper, many people have to win the AFC South. So very good win on their record, and with quarterback CJ Stroud making very good strides in his rookie season. And the Steelers obviously looking to improve on their 2-1 record that we gathered, we got the second one against the Las Vegas Raiders on Sunday night. As usual, I will start with the injury report. This coming out, now I'm recording this at about 4 o'clock Eastern time. So the Texans haven't released their Friday results, but I will get to what happened on Thursday in a minute. So the main news for the Steelers is that everyone is healthy with the exception of James Daniels, the guard, who was out with a groin, and Presley Harvin, the punter, who was out with a hamstring injury. For the Texans, tackle Laramie Tunsil did not practice with a knee injury. So again, even if he is able to come back and play on Sunday, you'd expect that to be on the sort of not necessarily limited, but not at 100%. And then linebacker Denzel Perryman did not practice with a hand injury. Denzel Perryman, that would be, if he doesn't play, that would be a very good bit of a bonus for the Steelers, as he has been a very good tackler this season so far, recording 18 of them. So a big part that would be missed on the Houston Texans side. Going back to the Steelers, when it comes to the replacement, you would expect Herbig to take the role at guard, and as you've probably seen in the news, Brad Wing, our former punter, is back for another stint, and he will probably he is going to take over the punting duties. So that's that out of the way. Now we move on to the preview, and as I said, the Houston Texans have not been a very good team so far this season. They've been very competitive, but you would, again, on paper, as I sort of said at the end of the Vegas review, on a player-per-player basis, man v man, you expect the Steelers to be the better team, and the Steelers are the better team, at least on paper. So we should be confident heading into this game. And I think the main thing, and this is going to be a slight twist on what I've sort of said in previous weeks, which my thing was stop the run and establish the run for the for the defense and the offense. I think sort of on a smaller level, it's going to be control the line of scrimmage, because the Houston Texans do not have the best offensive line, and with the injuries that they've got, there is a good chance that they are going to be weaker as a result. So defensive line, especially Keanu Benton, who's starting to establish himself as a very good defensive lineman in the NFL, should be in a very good position to control the game. And then obviously the edge players, Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt, even the middle linebackers coming in on blitzes and stuffing the run, you'd expect them to have a very good game. So if we can establish that and get some pressure on CJ Stroud, then I think we're going to have a very good game. Now the second point is, whilst I say we need to establish the run, I've said it again, it's going to be the same again, purely because I think we need to establish a second threat. We know that what we have in terms of weapons. We have George Pickens, we have Pat Frymouth, we have, when he becomes available, Deontay Johnson. We have Allen Robinson, who's coming very well. Calvin Austin, we saw on the deep ball, can be very effective. We have a lot of weapons outside, but until you can show the team that you have a threat in the running game, then it's going to be very easy for them to stop it, and you're taking away the element of surprise as well. You saw the stat a couple of weeks ago that I did mention, I believe it was ahead of the Raiders game, that the Steelers, when they line up in shotgun, 80% of the part, I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but 80% of the times it's a pass, and if they line up under center, 90% of the times it's a run. So we are becoming very predictable. So if we can establish that run and take away that predictability, that is what we need in order to then spread the field open. We are seeing a little bit more creativity and a little bit more useful with the wide receiver, and we are starting to see the playbook being opened up slightly. But I'm hoping in a game against, as I said, a challenging, but still we should be confident going into the Houston Texans team. This should be a game where we've had tough games against the 49ers, the Browns, and the Raiders. The Raiders won, although shouldn't have been as close as it should have been with the Minka Fitzpatrick penalty. towards the end. But again, we were there fighting. This should be a game where we should be able to explode and express ourselves a little bit more, and I'm hoping that's what's going to happen. So we do need to establish the run. What that's going to do, with the banged up offensive line as they get used to, it's going to be the first time that these five have worked together. But I do think there was a lot of potential there, and if we bring in Darnell Washington as the blockers. And the other tight ends, I do think that even if you want to go to have 6 offensive linemen, have it ineligible, and bring Broderick Jones in, I wouldn't be against that happening. If you want to establish the run and give Najee Harris and Jalen Warren confidence, make it easier for them. Put more big guys up there to block for them. So again, I hate having to simplify this, but with the way that Matt Canada is running this offense, you can only keep it to the simple level until he decides to expand and gets more complicated and gets more energy and creativity and get creativity out of it. So until that happens, it is going to be the same thing. But hopefully, as I said, against the Houston Texans, a team that we should be able to feel confident against, our offense against their defense, and hopefully, if the defense gives us a lot of, gives us short fields, and creates turnovers and creates pressure and force them deep when it comes to punting, all that sort of stuff. If the defense can play at their usual level, I'm thinking that this is the game where the offense can finally come up and say, have their coming out party, or the second coming out party if you want to have the preseason games as the other coming out parties. There is a lot of potential here, but we are still not utilizing it, and the offense just isn't living up to the expectations or the standards that the defense are delivering. As I say, hopefully that will happen this week. And in terms of a score prediction, whilst I hope there's going to be somewhat explosive, I don't see it being that still. I do still think it's a work in progress. So I'm going to go for a 27 points on our side, and I'll go with 13 on Houston. So I'll go with a 27-13 victory for the Pittsburgh Steelers, which will hopefully take us to 3-1. Actually, before I do go, I just want to touch on something that's come across the news wire recently that I forgot to mention in the game preview, but I did want to mention. Just left my mind as I was so into talking about the game. But all this talk about Jonathan Taylor and whether or not he's going to be coming to the Steelers, I would personally take that with a pinch of salt, because I don't see why we would be interested in him when we've already sort of established that Najee Harris and Jalen Warren are a good 1-2 punch in terms of the quarterback, in terms of the running back position rather. So I don't see why we would give up a high draft pick for him. And also when you consider that he's got his contract situation likely to be coming up very, very soon, I don't see the Steelers spending that much on a running back, especially when we have proven that Najee Harris and Jalen Warren we can we can work with cheaper options rather than having to spend money on Jonathan Taylor. So just wanted to touch on that. I don't think A to Z Sports. How are they in terms of the grand scheme? Now, if this came from Adam Schefter or a Albert Breer or a Michael Rappaport, not Michael Rappaport, Ian Rappaport, if it came from one of them, it would lean sort of more towards okay. But even then, I would say, whilst we'd be interested, I just can't see us giving up the draft capital and then further down the line the money for him in order to pay his contract. So, whilst there are reports out there, I personally, I just don't see it happening in any way, shape, or form.